Sues U.S. House over delay in Grijalva swearing-in, by Ella Lee and Zach Skonfeld. Arizona Attorney General Kris, a Democrat, filed a lawsuit Tuesday over GOP leaders' refusal to seat a newly elected Democratic lawmaker. The suit asks a federal judge in Washington, D.C., to declare Adelita Grijalva a member of the House and allow someone else to administer the oath if Speaker Mike Johnson, Republican from Louisiana, will not do so. May's office wrote in the complaint that the case is about whether someone duly elected to the House may be denied their rightful office, only because the Speaker has decided to keep the chamber out of regular session. If the Speaker were granted that authority, he could thwart the people's choice of who should represent them in Congress by denying them representation for a significant portion of the 2-year term provided by the Constitution, the suit reads. Fortunately, the Constitution does not give that authority to the Speaker or anyone else, it continues. A former county supervisor, Grijalva won a special election last month to fill the seat held by her late father, former Representative Raul Grijalva, Democrat from Arizona. The district spans most of Arizona's southern border, part of Tucson. Johnson has repeatedly defended his move not to seat Grijalva, saying he is just following a long-held House tradition of swearing in new members only during regular sessions. The Speaker has canceled votes during the shutdown, and Johnson says he will call the House back to Washington and immediately seat Grijalva when Democrats help to reopen the government. I will administer the oath to her, I hope on the first day we come back of the legislative session, Johnson told reporters Monday. I am willing and anxious to do that. In the meantime, instead of doing TikTok videos, she should be serving her constituents. In recent days, House Democrats have also warned that swift legal action could follow if Grijalva is not seated. This has gone on now for weeks, Jeffries told reporters in the Capitol on Friday. And so it is my expectation that, if she is not sworn in today, during the pro forma session today, as the Arizona Attorney General has made clear, expect swift and decisive legal action. Grijalva said in a statement that Johnson's obstruction is long past petty partisan politics. It is an unlawful breach of our Constitution and the democratic process, she said. The voters of southern Arizona made their choice, yet for 4 weeks, he has refused to seat a duly elected member of Congress, denying southern Arizona its constitutional representation.
GOP Leaders' I Knew Stopgap Spending Measure to End Shutdown, by Emily Brooks. Republican leaders are making plans for a new, longer continuing resolution CR to fund the government at current levels as the government shutdown drags into its 4th week. Consensus is growing that the GOP-crafted, clean CR to fund the government through November 21, which passed the House in September, but has been voted down 11 times in the Senate as Democrats make demands on health care, will no longer allow enough time to work out regular full-year appropriations. But the timeline of the new measure is the subject of debate. Several options are under consideration. Multiple GOP leadership sources tell The Hill, including one lasting until late January. One of those sources said that date seems to have the most support right now, while stressing the plans are in flux. A full-year continuing resolution through at least September 30th, the end of the fiscal year, has also been discussed. That kind of long-term option is preferred by some hardline Republicans who would prefer to avoid any spending increases or new leverage points for Democrats. Members of the House Freedom Caucus have previously argued for a year-long CR. But such a measure would be abhorred by members of the appropriations committees who have been working to set new spending levels, something Congress has not done since March 2024. Some Republicans have floated a mid-December CR to finish regular appropriations sooner, But that would outrage hardliners who want to avoid a holiday deadline that might put pressure on members to support a massive omnibus spending bill, perhaps with health care deals attached. Setting a new stopgap date would require Speaker Mike Johnson, Republican from Louisiana, to bring the House back to the Capitol, something he has avoided so far as a means of pressuring Democrats to back the GOP's existing spending measure. Senate Majority Leader John Thune, Republican from South Dakota, on Monday, responded affirmatively when asked whether it was time to start thinking about the House coming back and extending the time period covered by the continuing resolution. "Every day that passes, we have got less time to fund the government," Thune told reporters. The delay in reopening the government could push Republicans into a long-term CR mode, Thune warned. "I just do not think that is the way that we ought to be funding the government around here. But every day that passes, it becomes more possible as an eventuality," Thune said. Johnson also signaled in a press conference on Tuesday that Congress might need a new stopgap, recognizing that funding the government through November 21 might not provide enough time for appropriators to finish up full-year appropriations. "That is becoming a very dicey prospect right now because we need every single day," Johnson said. The Speaker said November 21 was not a random date, but one chosen by Republican and Democratic appropriators because they expected it would take 7 additional weeks to finish the appropriations process. The House has moved to go to a conference negotiation, with the Senate to negotiate 3 of the 12 regular appropriations bills. Funding for the Departments of Veterans Affairs and Agriculture, the Food and Drug Administration, Rural Development, Military Construction, and the Legislative Branch. But Senate Democrats have prevented that conference from moving forward amid the shutdown. House Freedom Caucus Chair Andy Harris, Republican from Maryland, who chairs the House Appropriations Subcommittee responsible for the Agriculture and FDA funding bill, said Monday he thinks that package could be completed quickly. "I think we are within days of actually coming to a final negotiated agreement on the first 3 bills, Milcon VA, Leg Branch, and Ag. So as soon as we come back in, I suspect within a week, that bill will be on the House floor," Harris said. Johnson has rebuffed suggestions to bring the House back into session to continue to pass more appropriations bills on the House floor, saying appropriators are working during the shutdown and will be ready to bring bills to the floor once the government opens. The crux of the shutdown standoff is that Democrats withholding support for a stopgap are seeking negotiations and assurances on health care issues, like extending expiring Affordable Care Act subsidies, while Republicans say they will refuse to negotiate on health care matters until Democrats vote to reopen the government. And unless Senate Republicans use the nuclear option in the Senate to bypass the 60-vote rule, which leaders have so far ruled out, despite members like Representatives Chip Roy, Republican from Texas, and Marjorie Taylor Greene, Republican from Georgia, suggesting they do so, they will have to get buy-in from Senate Democrats to send a longer continuing resolution to President Trump's desk. Thune has said he offered Democrats a vote on extending the expiring Obamacare subsidies when the government reopens, without any other assurances. But Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer, Democrat from New York, rejected that proposal. "We have offered them several off-ramps now," Thune said after meeting with President Trump at the White House with other Senate Republicans on Tuesday. Johnson met with Trump in the Oval Office for around 2 hours Monday night, he told reporters. "He is not going to negotiate with the Democrats who have the American people hostage," Johnson said. "We are not going to pay a ransom to reopen the federal government. Democratic leaders are seeking to meet with Trump, too." Schumer said he and House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries, Democrat from New York, reached out to Trump on Tuesday seeking a sit-down to resolve the health care crisis and negotiate in a serious way. Johnson and Jeffries also met over the weekend, but Jeffries on Tuesday declined to answer whether the leaders discussed extending the CR timeline. Wednesday marks the 22nd day of the government shutdown, making it the second longest shutdown in history, behind the 35-day shutdown in 2018-19 during the first Trump administration.